Hello student, in our previous video we have seen the solar distillation, that means the how we can obtain the purified form of the water from the impure form of the water, that is the solar distillation process. We have covered the what is the construction of the solar distillation, that is the basin type solar steel, the construction of the basin type solar steel and how it works. Now in this video we start with the advantages and the disadvantages of the solar distillation. First we see the advantages of the solar distillation. So first advantage is it is a pollution free and simple in a designing. That means the solar distillation is a pollution free. It does not produce any hazardous gases or anything which is harmful to our environment. That is, it is a pollution free and which can be done with the help of solar energy. And solar energy is the renewable energy source or non-conventional energy source. So it is a pollution free and simple in a designing. That means easy in a construction, which is constructed in a very short time. So this is the advantage of the solar distillation. Now second is it requires low maintenance. That means the maintenance installation cost is high, but the maintenance for the solar distillation is very low. Next advantage is it produces pure water from highly saline water, even sea water. That means the solar distillation is used to produce pure water, that is the distilled water from the highly saline water, that is sea water. Sea water contains different types of contaminants or salt or microbes or other insects. So this water is a highly saline water, and with the help of solar distillation we are able to produce pure form of the water from that. So this is the main advantage of the solar distillation. Next advantage is it does not require skilled operator to operate it. That means there is no requirement of any operator to operate that system. If we want to obtain the pure form of the water, we can only, there is a need to place the solar steel or the basin type solar steel in that area where the solar radiation are present. So there is no requirement of any skill operator after we place this system in the solar radiation. It does not require any conventional energy. That means for the operation of the solar distillation system does not require any conventional energy sources. That means it does not require any fossil fuels for the operation of the solar distillation. Next is it does not have any movable parts. That means there is no disturbance in the working due to movable parts. That is, it does not have any movable parts. These all are the advantages of the solar distillation, but it also has some disadvantages. So let's see the disadvantages of solar distillation. The first disadvantage is the cracking, breakage or scratches on the glass which reduce solar transmission. That means there is a transparent cover at the upper part of the basin type solar steel. Due to cracking or breakage or crashes on the glass, there is a decrease in the transmission. That means the transparent plate cover transmit the all solar radiation which are incident on it, but if there is some cracking or breakage or crashes on the glass, this transparency gets decreased and therefore it reduces solar transmission. So if we have this problem, then there is a less efficiency of the solar distillation system. This is the disadvantage of the solar distillation. Now the second disadvantage is the damage over a time to blackened absorbing surface. That means there is a damage of the black absorbing surface due to overheating. That means the material should be better or very useful for the absorption, so that we have to care of that. The material should stand with the high temperature, or the stand up with the high temperature. So but this will damage after some time due to overheating in a perfect sunny days. That is a damage over a time. The next disadvantage is to avoid growth of algae and deposition of dust steels needs to be cleaned regularly every few days. That means there is a cleaning requirement of the cleaning due to for the prevention of the growth of the algae and deposition of the dust. That means there is a upper part of the transporting cover, there is a deposition of the dust, so that we get the less solar transmission, or there is some growth of the algae whenever we not clean it regularly every few days. So this is the disadvantages. There is an accumulation of a salt on the bottom which needs to remove periodically. That means at the base, after the evaporation, the water get converted into vapor form, and the contaminants left behind at the base part of the solar steel. And generally this is the, when we purify the seawater, generally this is the salt, and there is a accumulation of the salt at the bottom or on the bottom. So this needs to be removed periodically. That means there is a layer formation of the contaminants at the bottom of the solar steel. So there is a requirement of the removed, that is the to remove periodically. So this is the disadvantages of the solar distillation. Now it has some applications. So the application of the solar distillation, it can be used for the different application, such as the water which can be obtained from the solar distillation is used in different processes, like in hospitals, in industrial areas, or for laboratory works. These all are the applications. So let's see. First is the industries. In industries, the distilled water is used for the industrial processes. Second is the hospitals and disciplinaries. That means in hospital and disciplinaries, this distilled water is used for the sterilization. Third one is the garages and automobile workshop. In garages and automobile workshop, for the repairing of the battery, there is a need of distilled water. That is the for radiator and the battery maintenance, distilled water is required. Next is the telephone exchange. In a telephone exchange, for battery maintenance, distilled water is also used. Next is the laboratory use. In the laboratory use, distilled water is used. Generally we use it in chemical laboratories or in a medical field laboratories for analytic work. Last and the very important application of the solar distillation, that is the in a marshy and coastal area. In a marshy and coastal area, to get the fresh potable water, we use the solar distillation system. These all are the application of the solar distillation system. So we have covered all about the solar distillation. Now the next point is the solar drying. That means the solar energy is used for the drying of the food or vegetables. So this is the solar drying. Let's see. One of the traditional uses of the solar energy has been for drying of agricultural products. That means the solar energy is used for the drying of the agricultural products, and we know that it agricultural products means like grains, vegetables, different types of the products. The drying process removes the moisture and helps in the preservation of the product. That means with the help of solar energy, the moisture can be removed from the agricultural products and it helps in a preservation of that product. Traditionally, drying is done on open ground. The disadvantage associated with this are the process is slow and the insect and the dust get mixed with the product. That means in a traditional way, the drying is done on the open ground, but it has some disadvantages. That is, there is a mixing of the dust or some insect when we put it on the open ground. So this is the disadvantage of this traditional drying. But after that, there is after some invention, there is a use of solar drying. That means the use of solar dryer helps to eliminate these disadvantages. That is, there is no mixing of any dust within the product, and also the quality of the product gets maintained due to solar dryer. This is all about the solar drying. So therefore solar drying is widely used. But what is the actual principle of the solar drying? That means the basic principle. Let's see. The basic function of a solar dryer is to heat air to constant temperature with solar energy, which facilitate extraction of humidity from the crops inside the drying chamber. That means there is a drying chamber, in that the crop or material is placed which we want to dry, and the arrangement is done so that the solar radiation which are incident on that, and after that, due to solar radiation, there is a heat inside that chamber, and due to solar radiation the air gets heat with a constant temperature, so that this heated air is passed through or over on the that material, so that the moisture can be removed and we get the dried form of the product. That is the preservation of that product. The food is not exposed to direct sunlight in a direct sun dryers, as the fresh air is heated separately from the food chamber. In many of the food dryer or the solar food dryers, the air is heated in a separate food chamber, so that this air is passed through that material and this material gets dried. So in indirect sun dryers, the food is directly not exposed to the sunlight, but in some direct type solar dryer, the food is directly exposed to the solar radiation. Generally there are two types of the solar dryer, that is the direct solar dryer, and the second one is the indirect solar dryer. Indirect solar dryer, the material which we want to dry is directly exposed to the solar radiation, but in indirectly food dryer, there is a separate food chamber, in that the hot air is produced. Now what is the actual construction of the solar dryer? The dryer consists of following different parts, such as first is an enclosure with a transparent cover. The transparent cover is for transmission of the solar radiation which are incident on it, and the enclosure which helps to separate the system from the surrounding. Second is the perforated trays on which product is placed, which to be dried. That means there are different trays on which the product is placed, so that the product is dried with the help of hot air which is produced from the solar radiation. Next part is the hot air outlet. That means for the natural circulation there is natural ventilation, there is a hot air outlet. That means there is a hot air outlet. After drying of the food, the air gets or air escape from the enclosure, so there is a hot air outlet. Next part is for natural circulation, there is some windows. That means there is a ventilation or the natural circulation process, there are different windows, so it helps to enter the hot air inside the chamber, and after that there is a exhaust or outlet through which the hot air get escape from the chamber. This is all the different part of the solar dryer which helps to dry the food or vegetables or agriculture products. Now how it works? This is the actually schematic diagram of the solar dryer. There is a base part. which are allowed to enter the or to which is a part, so that it provide the insulation. That means not perfect insulation, but there is a part where the air can be easily, or on there is a base part on which the trays are placed, and in that tray the agriculture product is placed. So there is a generally two holes or walls. That means the air enters and air exit, and with that, along that, there are different windows. So these windows helps for the natural circulation. So above the base part there is a perforated tray or the perforated plate on which the agriculture product is placed, which we want to dry, and the air enters at the bottom of that product and pass through that product, so that, and this is the actually the another process. But when we incident the solar radiation on the transparent plate which transfer the solar radiation, and this solar radiation enters in the chamber. Due to the heat of the solar radiation, there is a production of hot air. It means the air which enter already where air is present in the chamber or enclosure, and due to solar radiation there is a heating of the air, and due to this heated air there is a drying of the product, and after that this is the continued process. That means the air comes, solar radiation are incident side by side, and there is a heating of the air, and this heated air after passing through the agriculture product, it gets escape, or it can escape from the chamber, and again freshly air which enters in the chamber, and this process will continue. So this process requires 3 to 4 days for the drying of that agricultural product, and this is the schematic diagram of the solar dryer. This is the actual solar dryer which help us to dry the agricultural product. There is a transparent cover which transmit the solar radiation, and it has a different windows for the circulation. This transparent cover transmit all the solar radiation, and there is a window at the last side and the front and back side of the solar dryer, so that the air comes, and due to solar radiation this air is heated. So there is a continue of this heating, and after there is a the air is entered to the chamber, and after heating the air the product gets dried, and after that the air escape the chamber. This process will continue until the product gets dried, and this is the inside view of the solar dryer, in which there is a tray and on which the product is placed which we want to dry. So this is the solar dryer. Now how it works? The dryer consists of an enclosure with a transparent cover. That means there is a topmost part which is the enclosure with a transparent cover. The material to be dried is placed on the perforated tray, and the bottom has a perforated trays in which material is placed which we want to dry. Solar radiation entering the enclosure is absorbed in the product itself and surrounding internal surface of the enclosure. That means the solar radiation which are incident on the transparent covering plate, and it get transmitted through that. So this transmitted solar radiation get absorbed by the product and the surrounding internal surfaces of the enclosure, so that as a result moisture is removed from the product and the air inside is heated. That means due to hot air there is a removation of the moisture, that is the moisture is removed from the product, so that the product gets dried, and the heated air is allowed to flow through or over the wet crop or any material that provides the heat for moisture evaporation by convective heat transfer between the hot air and the wet crop. That means there is a wet crop which has moisture, and above that there is a high temperature due to solar radiation which are coming from the sun and transmitted through the cover plate. So there is a convective heat transfer process between the hot air and the hot air due to solar radiation and the wet crop. Within the wet crop there is a moisture, and so within the hot air and the wet crop there is a heat transfer process with the help of convective process. Drying takes place due to the difference in a moisture concentration between the drying air and the air in the vicinity of the crop surface. That means actually there is two types of the air, that is the air which is present above the just crop surface and the air which is present in entire chamber. That means the heated air due to solar radiation and just humid air above the crop surface. That means there is a difference in a moisture concentration. That means the moisture which above present the crop and the moisture which present entire enclosure, and this is the difference in the moisture concentration, and due to this there is a drying process. Suitable openings at the bottom and top enclosure ensure a natural circulation. That means there is an opening at the top and bottom of the enclosure to ensure the natural circulation. Temperature ranging from 50 degrees Celsius to 80 degrees Celsius are usually attained, and drying time ranges from 2 to 4 days. That means the agricultural product takes 2 to 4 days for the drying with the help of solar dryer, and the temperature maintained inside that solar dryer is nearly about 50 degrees Celsius to 80 degrees Celsius. Typical products which can be dried in such devices are dates, apricots, chilies, grapes, or some vegetables or some grains are dried with the help of solar dryer. These all are the different products. Sometimes according to product which we want to dry, there are different types of the dryer. That means the particular dryer is constructed for that particular product. So this is all about the solar dryer. How we are able to dry agricultural product with the help of solar dryers, and this solar dryer help us to dry different agriculture products such as the chilies, grapes, different types of grain, crops, but without any losses the actual property of that crop or agricultural product. That means the quality is maintained with the help of dryer, that is the solar dryer, but it has some advantages as well as some disadvantages. So let's see, first is the advantages. It is a pollution free. That means it use only the solar energy, and we know that the solar energy is the non-conventional energy, so it is a pollution free. Drying can be done faster and in controlled fashion as compared to open ground process. In open ground process, the process is slow as compared to solar dryer. In a solar dryer, due to transparent covering plate and the enclosure which separate the system from surrounding, so this process can be done in a faster way as compared to open ground process and in a controlled fashion. That means there is a control, that means which we are able to dry this product or the agriculture product from the different environmental parameters, that is such as rain or wind or all other things. In this process, dust particle, flies, paste, rain cannot be mixed with the product. That means in a open ground process, all these particles or the dust particle, flies, paste can be mixed with the product, but with the help of solar drying process, these products cannot be mixed with the product. This is the main advantage of the solar drying. The next advantage is the quality of the product is better in terms of nutrients, hygiene and color. That means the quality is maintained with the help of solar dryer. That means there is no change in the color of that particular agriculture product, or there is no change in the nutrients and hygiene. That means hygiene process is very important, or hygiene is very important for the agriculture product for the drying process. So this can be maintained with the help of solar dryer. It does not require any fuel for drying. That means for the operation of the solar dryer, it does not require any fuel, but that means there is no requirement of any fossil fuels. It can work on the only solar energy, and which is the non conventional energy source or the renewable energy source. So this is the free of cost. It does not contain any movable parts. That means this solar dryer does not contain any movable part, so we can handle very easily. So these all are the advantages of the solar dryer, but it has some disadvantages. So the disadvantages are, first is the, for solar dryer initial installation cost is high. That means the installation cost is high. That means there is a high cost for the cover material, that is a transparent cover material, and trays and all those things. It gives better efficiency only in a perfect sunny days. That means it able to dry the material in a perfect way only in a sunny days. That means the better efficiency in only perfect sunny days. Next disadvantage is the not workable at light. That means this solar dryer is work when and when we have the solar energy, but this is not possible at the night time. Overheating may occur if regular attention is not paid. That means there is overheating in occur in a perfect sunny days if we are not able to pay attention for that. Due to overheating, it can decrease the quality of food. That means there is an increase in a temperature due to overheating in a perfect sunny days, and this cause the decrease in a quality of the food. Now next disadvantage is the change in a taste and flavor of the food may occur if regular monitoring does not done. That means it requires regular maintenance. That means we have to check the food is dried or not. If we have not able to pay attention, then there is a change in a taste and flavor of the food, or a decrease in the quality of the food. This is the disadvantage of the solar dryer. So solar dryer is a very useful, but we have to maintain that system so it can work in a proper way. So this is all about the solar dryer, which help us to dry the agricultural product. So it is a very useful system, and which is free of cost and pollution free. That means only we use the solar energy and we are able to done, that is the drying process, without mixing any dust particle or without any mixing of rain, mixing of pest or other insecticides, and along with that there is no change in flavor or taste or color of that particular agricultural product. This is very best process for the drying. This is all about the solar drying. Now in our next video we will discuss about next solar application, that is the photothermal application. So we will continue with that.